The Stage 2 Procharger centrifugal kit will be a turnkey option for your 2015 through 17 GT, featuring all of the necessary components to make 700 plus to the tire, while also being one of the easier supercharger systems to install on your ride. Now, your key components here will include the P1SC head unit, massive air-to-air intercooler, JMS fuel pump booster, and Deechworks 1000C injectors, all along with the N-Gauge device and calibration from Procharger. Price point's gonna be right around $8,000, and the install, while a little bit easier compared to other kits in the category, will still get a 3 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter from me, as there still is a fair amount of work to get everything in place. So Procharger makes up one of the big 3 centrifugal options in the category, along with Paxton and of course Vortec. Now, the idea behind a Sentry style blower is pretty simple. Like any other supercharger kit, it's designed to force more air into your engine and as a result make more power in the process. Now, if you haven't noticed already, a centrifugal setup will look very similar to that of a turbocharger, at least on the compressor side here. However, the big difference is behind the actual blower, and you can see a Sentry is going to be belt driven, whereas that turbocharger, of course, is exhaust driven. Now, the power delivery of a centrifugal kit like the Procharger here will be pretty similar to that of a turbo, where it's going to build boost with RPM, unlike a TVS style blower, for instance, where the power is pretty much linear and on tap at all times. But now that you know a little bit more about how it all works, let's break down the complete kit here from Procharger. And again, keep in mind, we have most of the bigger components on the table today. You do get a lot more with their complete system. At its core, the P1SC head unit here. The P1, a very popular choice, but one of the smaller offerings from Procharger when you compare it to, say, an F1A, F1X, things like that, but nevertheless can still support upwards of 825 horsepower while flowing a max of 1200 CFM. Now, your max impeller speed will be 65,000 RPM, and that will allow the P1 here to achieve max boost levels of 32 PSI, although let's be honest, most setups won't see anywhere close to that. Typically, guys, with this kit, we'll be running 8 to 10 pounds of boost right out of the box with the included pulleys. Now, driving that P1 will be the included 8-rib belt setup here, which is a nice upgrade, by the way, over that base 6-rib kit. They also include an 8-inch crank pulley that does work in conjunction with your factory harmonic balancer, so there's no need to change that out, modify it, drill any of the factory parts. Everything is going to work in conjunction with the factory stuff. At the same time, you're also going to be looking at loads of belt wrap thanks to the included bracket system and, of course, the tensioner. Now, Procharger claims that the 8-rib setup and their crank pulley option is going to take some of the stress or load off the crank snout or pulley, which can sometimes be an issue, although very rare, on some of the older or different setups out there. But on top of the P1 setup, the 8-rib setup, all that good stuff, owners can also look forward to this absolutely massive air-to-air intercooler. In fact, one of the largest in the category, period, but especially when you go with the Stage 2 kit. Why? Well, this is 1,100 cubic inches of core size here, which is gonna dwarf the 600 cubic incher of the basic high output kit, also from Procharger. Now, the best part is Procharger claims you can actually fit this behemoth behind that factory front bumper with no cutting, no drilling, or trimming of any factory parts. Finally, this thing does include, of course, all of the piping, couplers, and all that good stuff, brackets to get everything in place. But since we are talking about a complete kit here, Procharger also tosses in a very solid fueling setup in the way of the JMS fuel pump booster, working with the Deechworks 1000cc injectors. Now, that combination will allow for plenty of fuel and even the use of E85 down the road if you'd like to check that out. However, just keep in mind, if that is an option you'd like to pursue, you will need to look into a different tune, as the included calibration from Procharger is designed to work with 91 octane or higher fuel. Now, the included pulley with this particular kit will put the car around 10 pounds of boost, but as is the case with any supercharger system, including the Procharger here, pulley changes are pretty easy and will allow you to raise or lower boost as desired. Now, Procharger also claims that this will be one of your easier forced induction installs to tackle on the S550 GT, and one that, by the way, is completely reversible, meaning there's no crazy cutting or clearance balancing needed to fit all of these parts. But since we are still talking about a supercharger system here and not a cold air intake, for instance, we're still going to go 3 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter and a full day in the shop or garage to get everything in place. So in closing, if you're looking to go with an all-inclusive centrifugal kit with some really nice supporting modifications, be sure to check out the Stage 2 Procharger for your S550 right here at AmericanMuscle.com.